Okay, since all the cool kids seem to be doing hobby cave tours these days, I figure I'll give you one of mine. First we've got my workbench, which is just a great big folding table. All the tools I might need are just sort of piled up there. This is the cleanest it's been in months, so that won't last long. Above that we've got a shelf full of vehicles. On the end over here we have a Tamiya FF01 front-wheel drive. Came with a beat-up Dodge Stratus body on it, but I've got a Celica body sitting on top of that, waiting to get painted up. After that, we have an OFNA JL01 or JL10 or whatever it is, the 10th scale on-road touring car with a Alfa Romeo body on it. After that is, what the heck is this? This is a TT01 with a very beat up body on it. I've got a couple of extra bodies ready to get put on that. Let's see if we can get a better angle on these here. After that, we've got a giant box full of parts that will one day probably be a TB01 rally car. It's the original TB01 Lancer body that came with it. It is missing all the decals, but otherwise the kit is complete. It just needs somebody to put it together, which will probably be me if I don't get too distracted. After that, we have an older HPI RS4. That's a belt drive, four-wheel drive touring car. With a Mazda Speed 6 body sitting on top of it, waiting to be painted. The masks are on and it's cut up, but it needs painting. And that, of course, came with a whole bunch of spares. There's a little parts caddy in there. But that's a roller like most of these. We have an MO5. MO6. Tamiya MO6 roller that is complete and in decent shape. Then we have, in a little cave it seems to have made for itself, a Tamiya MO2 old rear-wheel drive Mini. It's got a very, very beat-up Volkswagen Beetle body on it, and sitting on top of that is the short 210mm wheelbase NSU Prinz body. It's a old German car, so I'm going to shorten the wheelbase on the MO2 and put the little Prinz body on there. I have an entire extra chassis and a bunch of extra parts in a little box down there. As you'll notice, all these cars are sitting on top of a plastic box. That's kind of how I like to organize stuff. Every car gets its own box, and all the parts for that car go in the box. And last on this shelf, the only one on here that's actually running at the moment, is a Tamiya TA04SS, and that's the MRS Turbo or whatever body. This is my first on-road car. It's a belt drive, four-wheel drive, and that does run, and it is quite fun. That does it for that shelf. Let's see. Over here we've got a giant pile of batteries, all lithium-ion. We've got a fairly large bag full of brushed motors and speed controllers pulled out of rollers. I don't know if you noticed, but pretty much everything I have I bought as a roller or used on eBay, and I go from there. Here's a very large pile of motors and electronic speed controls, servos, all the electronics to put in the rollers when I get around to it. Actually, that's not even all of them. Some of the little boxes the cars are sitting on have motors if I've already picked a motor and a speed control for the car. You might be able to see some of that through the boxes. Here is an OFNA, let's see, this is a, was it Ultra LX Pro, I believe, roller that already has the brushless motor adapter on there, and has already had the servo holder cut down to fit. that I'm not really looking forward to, because as you'll see, I have another OFNA converted to brushless, and these 8 scale buggies are an awful lot of fun once you put a brushless motor in them. This is the Associated, was it B44.1? No, just a B44, the old B44. 4-wheel drive 10 scale buggy with a box full of lots of extra wheels and some other parts in there. That does have a motor and speed control in it. However, it does not have a servo yet. I just got the servo mount a couple days ago, and I'm just waiting on my own slowness to get that done. This is the only brushed vehicle in my entire collection. It's an HPI Blitz, obviously. It is pretty much stock, except that the brushed motor and speed control are actually Traxxas. It's an XL5 speed control and a, was it Titan 12T, whatever the standard Traxxas motor is. At one point I was considering actually racing in a stock class, so I picked this up, and that class allowed for, you know, stock parts from other manufacturers, and the Traxxas speed control motor a little bit better than what HPI gives you, so went with that. Got a bunch of extra tires and miscellaneous pieces and parts for that. We've got the miscellaneous closet, mostly just boxes that some of the cars came with, extra bodies, and some other extra bodies and spare bodies. There's one for the it's a Wheelie King body back there, and here, hold on, there we go. Now you can see. So yeah, just lots of extra bodies and bits and pieces, spares. A fairly sizable collection of sticker sheets and decals. I have decals and stickers for pretty much all those unpainted and painted but unstickered bodies. Just haven't gotten around to actually putting them on yet. You know, I'm going to leave this on. I think that helps a bit. There's a bunch of silicone wire. Can never have too much of that. Alright, up top we've got a TL01, which is a shaft drive, 4-wheel drive, Tamiya Ford Lightning pickup. That's a roller. A few extra parts in there. We've got a giant box and an empty shell for an HPI E10. This was actually a complete car at one point. I actually bought this used, obviously, but total, you know, everything there, in attempting to take it apart to switch it from front engine to rear engine. I broke the chassis plate, so I bought a new chassis plate and a bunch of extra parts, and haven't quite got it put together yet. It was running though at one point, and wasn't running well because it's not a very good chassis, but it's all there. Next we have a rather nice Associated TC3 electric roller. Some extra, you know, blue bling in there. This does have a motor and a speed control in the box down here, but it's not quite assembled yet. Again, this was waiting on a servo mount for a while. Now that I have that, I kind of have no excuse to finish it. This is a Tamiya M04, which is a rear-wheel drive Mini. This is actually complete and running. The body's just not finished, but it is ready to go. I have driven it around without the body on a few times, and that's a lot of fun. I really like the Tamiya Minis, as you might notice, and the rear-wheel drive ones especially. They handle like crap, but that's kind of half the fun. They slide all over the place. Next is an M03. It was originally the new Mini. It was like the long wheelbase new Mini, and I shortened it and stuck a Nissan Micra body on there. The body is done. It just doesn't have the stickers on it. But I broke a body post, and I don't believe it has a motor in it at the moment. I may have taken that out. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't have a motor in it at the moment, or a speed control. But as you saw, I've got plenty of extra speed controls, so that was a lot of fun. But I burned up the original speed control I had in it, and just never quite got around to replacing it. This is a Tamiya M01, the very first Mini chassis, with the original Mini body that is extremely beaten and abused. You'll notice it's missing the front wheels. That's because when I got it as a roller, you'll notice that one of the wheel stubs in the front is longer than the other. that's kind of weird. So I got new wheel stubs, and oh, it does have a speed control and motor in it. In fact, I did run it with the mismatched wheel stubs. I just haven't put the new wheel stubs in and got it back running again. It's a fun little thing. Oop. Come on, you. Stop being a pest. I want to get a new body for that, and I want to stick with an original Mini body. And last on this shelf is a Tamiya TA01. That's an old, well, I guess not that old, four-wheel belt drive touring car. This has had and I guess not really carbon, but I guess FRP you'd call it, chassis upgrade. All the original chassis parts are in the box, and the body is in rough shape, but it's there. That'll get replaced, obviously, whenever I get around to getting it on the road. That does it for that shelf. Moving down here, this was an Offner Ravager 8th scale buggy that I converted to a little Subaru 8th scale brushless rally car. If you look in through the windshield there's one of those 540 long motors, which is a little bit undersized for the application. It does get kind of warm after about 10 minutes of driving, but it does work, along with a 100 amp Hobby King ESC, and a battery box. And the only other thing I really did to do the conversion is to make up some body mounts and stick them on the towers. Actually, in the back I'm using the wing mount and stuck some little body mount tabs on that. And I also put spacers inside the shocks to lower the ground clearance. And it's actually, I mean, it looks like a rally car, but really the ground clearance is so low and the body is so low that it's pretty much only an on-road car. As you can see from these scrape marks on the body, the front gets caught on stuff pretty easy. The first time I took it out, it got caught on a bunch of stuff and caused all those scrapes. I had to cut off an extra almost inch off that front bumper just to keep the smallest little twigs and bits from catching on the bumper and wrecking it. But that does run, and I do like it quite a bit. Back here we have it was a Duratrax Evader EXB. This is my first ever RC car that I purchased about 3 years ago, maybe a little more. Purchased an RTR, upgraded quite a bit of it actually, put some aluminum shocks on it, brushless kit, and some T-bone bumpers, and obviously those back wheels and front wheels are not stock. But that does run and is enjoyable. I do have a bit of a problem with I was breaking dog bones on it a lot, using bigger tires and having a brushless kit, so I got the CVD kit, and unfortunately the CVD kit is a little too short and the CVDs keep popping out of the cups. So, a bit of a pain in the butt. Here we have a Baja Beetle body, still in the package, sitting on top of a Duratrax, I guess it's either a Nitro Quake or a Thunder Quake, I'm not sure which somebody has converted to, well, electric, but not brushless, but you can still see a probably way underpowered 10th scale motor on this hacked together mount, and a kind of a crappy battery mount cobbled to the top. And this is actually two-wheel drive. Originally it was four, but at some point the front diff must have broken, because currently there is no gears inside the diff case, there are no dog bones, and the drive shafts are sort of crimped. In order to get power to the back, they've just stuck a giant screw through that top plate to lock the front, and the diff just sort of spins into the rear axle, or the rear drive shaft. That's kind of a crappy solution right there, just because at some point that screw is going to get knocked out and go flying, and then you're totally screwed. So what I'm going to do is take that diff out, lock it with JB weld, and then remove the screw, and just have it be a big, center gear rather than a center diff. It would be a spool. And yeah, that's that. I've got plans for that. I definitely like the idea of a rear-wheel drive 8th scale Baja Beetle, since a real Baja Beetle is rear-wheel drive. And I've got these great big old, I believe these are Exceed brand. They were cheap. I think it was like $18 for the pair. Monster truck tires to stick on the back. Those will look pretty cool. Right now I'm just waiting on new wheel hubs because for some reason the Nitro Quake and Thunder Quake come with 19 millimeter hubs and nuts or whatever rather than 17. So waiting for that. Next we have, a T-Max. Not really. It's actually an associated MGT with a T-Max stickers on a Hummer body. But as you can see, this is fully blinged out. I got this as a roller for, oh geez, I think it was like about $100. Plus shipping and all, but actually no, it was under $100, but after shipping it ended up being like, $120, $125. But this is, like I said, fully blinged out. Everything that can be replaced with aluminum, except for the shocks, has been. But I have a full set of aluminum shocks in the box here, along with some other parts. There were a couple other odds and ends it was missing. This will be converted to brushless. I'm not a big fan of the transmission. There's a lot of extra gears that don't need to be there, but apparently there's no good conversion kit for it, so that may stay there. I'll just convert it to being a one, you call it one way or whatever, but just lock everything so that it can actually work. Down here, and wow, I realize this is 16 minutes already. Down here we've got a, a Red Cat RS10 crawler, rolling chassis, no electronics. Nothing much in the way of upgrades. They just painted it so that it wasn't quite so gaudy. With a fairly decent Rubicon body. That's on the list of things to do. Over here, we've got a Stampede, or at least it was a Stampede, original two-wheel drive Stampede. That is pretty much, there's almost no original parts on this. Take the body off, obviously. It's a long wheelbase aluminum chassis. We've got aluminum, lots of stuff, aluminum towers. The shocks are actually stock Stampedes, but not stock to this body. We've got aluminum STRC hub carriers. We've got RPM arms up front. We've got some RPM arms for the back down there that just haven't been installed yet. The gearbox, if you can see, is an Integy aluminum case, and all the gears that were not fully metal have been replaced with metal, so there is no plastic between the motor and the wheels, because the half shafts have also been replaced with CVDs. It's an 80 amp Brushless Hobbies ESC on there, and kind of a crappy Novatec motor, but it gets the job done. There's also T-bone bumpers on it, obviously. I like to put T-bone bumpers on everything. Next we have what was originally a Wheelie King with the Crawler King conversion, plus some other extra stuff. Oh, that's actually on there. And a Blazer body that's kind of been hacked up quite a bit just to give it maximum wheel clearance. As you can see, there's some extra parts there that haven't been installed yet. Aluminum steering brace, a more heavy-duty steering linkage there. As you can see, it already has the axle-mounted servo kit, and a few other odds and ends, and a brushless hobby wing. I think it's like a 28T 35 amp brushless kit in there. Next, this is the Beast. This is started life a long time ago as a Savage X, I think, and now again, like the Stampede, almost no original parts. I think the only parts that are original is the transmission and some of the screws. Everything else has been replaced. Even if it's been replaced with just new stock parts, but most of it is aftermarket. Got a Castle Monster ESC. There's a giant Fiego or Fiego, or however you pronounce that motor down there somewhere. Great big old high-tech all titanium gear servo. This is a Desert Boy 17 chassis. We've got the racing conversion kit for the suspension. We've got the metal-bodied big bore shocks. Yeah, pretty much everything is new on this. The wheels, they're Badlands tires on, I forget who makes them, but they're like a full offset solid aluminum wheel. Just a one piece of aluminum, and it's offset all the way to the back to give you quite a bit of extra width there. And the body is actually from a 5th scale Red Cat Rampage, which is actually a little on the big side for the chassis, but I think it works. It actually goes, over the bumpers, but looks pretty good, I think. Dragon's maybe a little cheesy, but I don't know what I was thinking at the time. Alright, still going. We've got a Turnigy 16th scale short course truck. This is the only other vehicle, like ready to run vehicle that I bought new and haven't, really done anything with. It's the only ready to run vehicle I bought other than my initial EXB buggy. But that does run and is in good shape. We've got a Losi mini desert truck. This is kind of my mini shelf up here. Got a bunch of new parts for it in there that need to be added to it. New steering, new steering linkage, some new suspension bits, and I do want to get a brushless kit for that at some point. I don't like the brushed system. This is technically a toy grade vehicle. This is a Takara Tomy GX buggy, which is sold in the U.S. as an Air Hogs Hyperactive, I think. But I got this a few years ago before they were for sale in the U.S. Had to have it ordered from Japan, which is why this is in all Japanese writing here. Let's see if I can get a better focus on it. There we go. Alright, then we've got a HPI Micro RS4 or Mini RS4, I'm not sure which. 18th scale, 4-wheel drive, belt drive touring car, which is mostly together. I just basically have to mount the ESC and get the wheels on there, and that should be ready to go. That is mostly upgrade parts on there, not a whole lot of stock bits on there, although granted when I got it, quite a few of the bits were not stock. But I've gone and replaced even more stuff. Next we have a Losi Mini LST that I bought very thoroughly upgraded. The body I did, but the rest of it was already had quite a bit of neat stuff on there, like the single larger servo conversion, brushless, single motor brushless conversion. Obviously, it came with the motor, but not a speed control. I put I think it's a 30 amp, maybe 25 amp Hobbywing speed control in there. I put the T-bone bumpers on that, which are nice. That's actually a lot of fun. We've got 3 chassis that'll probably never be finished or even worked on sitting here. 2 10th scale pan cars of unknown origin and some sort of Kyosho Nitro chassis that I got for, I think the auction I won for $11. That's the only reason I got it. It's because it was like minutes left on the auction and no one had bid on it. So, yeah, even if I never do anything with it, it's just nice to have. 10th scale, 2-wheel drive, stadium truck, Kyosho. I have no idea the model. Almost done. Alright, let's see what we can do here. There we go. We've got a XTM accelerator roller, 2-wheel drive, stadium truck. I'll probably end up giving that away. I've given away 3 or 4 older, stadium trucks and buggies and stuff. I get a hold of them for cheap. I think I paid less than $30 for that. We've got a XTM Mammoth monster truck chassis down there. There are wheels in the box. It does still have some of its nitro bits on there. I was going to have to get rid of that. And last but not least, we have an Offna Pirate 10 4-wheel drive monster truck with some parts and stuff set aside for it. That's actually going to be kind of fun, just because it's old and weird. It's not particularly a popular vehicle and not all that tough, but I kind of like things that are obscure. Alright, and I think that covers it. Yeah, giant box of tires. Like Jang, I kind of have a thing for tires, so there's an awful lot of them there. And that's not even all of them. I mean, if you've noticed, some of the plastic boxes for some of the cars have tires in them. If they're tires, they're destined for those vehicles. This is just lots of extra spare tires. Some used, some new, all different sizes, just because if I see an auction for tires, I'll grab it, just on general principle. Alright, and I think that pretty much covers it. Now that this is just about 26 minutes long, I'm going to call it quits. See you on the forums, guys.